G'day, it's Jamie, and welcome to Where's My Yowie. Today, I'm reading a newspaper article from 1912 about another Bombala Yowie sighting. So I'll get into it. So this is from the Sun newspaper in Sydney, dated Sunday, November 10th, 1912. The headline: Bombala's Superman. Is there a tribe? Supposed Australian gorillas. An eyewitness story. Mr. Charles Harper, licensed surveyor of Leichhardt, tells a remarkable story, vouching for the existence of a hairy tribe of great anthropoids in the mountains to the south. For many years past, vague and mysterious rumours have been current of an Australian gorilla or hairy man or some such animal seen on and in the wild uninhabited mountains and gorges forming the Curragh Range, which runs parallel to the south coast of this state from the head of the Clyde River to North Gippsland. Recently, he has again been seen by several people at Creewar, a small station holding near Bombala, on top of the tableland of Monaro. The local stock inspector of Bombala, whose statement I think should be relied upon, saw this animal and chased it some distance, but failed to head it, owing to the nervous dread of his horse. He, however, took a plaster cast of the track or spoor left by this unknown animal and submitted it for identification to a well-known and eminent Sydney University scientist, who unhesitatingly pronounced it a fake, not insinuating that the stock inspector faked it, but the animal did. In this case, maybe, some lunatic was playing off a practical joke, as it is said this very rare animal never leaves the dense and rugged jungles, and around Creewar County it is comparatively level and fairly open forest country. Along the Curragh Range of mountains, from the head of the Clyde River extending southerly to the Victorian border, the eastern slope consists of excessively broken lateral ridges, deep gorges and dense jungles, extremely difficult to access for man or beast. Therefore, its primeval solitude is very rarely disturbed. Scientists assert that this animal, like the bunyip, is a myth, and such animals do not and never did exist on this continent, although the old generation of Aboriginal natives assert the contrary on both cases. In various parts of the southern district of this state, on the coastal slopes and at various times, extending over a very long period, I have met men, and reliable men at that, who unhesitatingly assert that they had seen this hairy man-shaped animal at short distances. They were so terrified at the apparition and at the hideous noise it made when it saw them that they left their work as timber getters and at once cleared out from the locality, leaving tools and work done behind them. The description of this animal, seen at different times by different people in several localities, but always in the jungle, invariably coincided. At risk of being considered by your readers the reincarnation of Aeneas or the late Thomas Pepper, I will describe this animal as once seen as briefly as possible. I had to proceed some distance into the heart of these jungles for a special purpose, accompanied by two others and two large kangaroo dogs with a strain of British bulldog in each. For 2 days we saw little sign of animal life excepting an odd scrub wallaby and numerous superb lyrebirds, now unfortunately soon to become extinct, their habitat ravished by English foxes. On the night of the second day, about 9 p.m, having just turned in, we heard a most unusual sound, similar to the sound of a beating or badly tuned drum, accompanied by a low, rumbling growl. The dogs were supposed to be able to tackle anything. They could hold and throw a wild bull with ease, but in this case they seemed utterly demoralised. They would not bark, but whined, and made to come into the tents. The horrible sounds gradually drew nearer, and our thoughts flew to escaped tigers and hyenas, and we began to think our cake was dough. We had no firearms and only a scrub hook and an axe. Although there was a small moon, the night was very dark, intensified by an overhanging fog. After much coaxing, I induced one of my companions, who had a large bundle of leaves and dry kindling in his hut, to gather them up and place them on the smouldering campfire. After some minutes, they flickered up into a big blaze, illuminating the scrub around us for some distance, when a most blood-curdling sight met our gaze. A huge, man-like animal stood erect not 20 yards from the fire, growling, grimacing, and thumping his breast with his huge, hand-like paws. I looked around and saw one of my companions had fainted. He remained unconscious for some hours. The creature stood in one position for some time, sufficiently long enough to enable me to photograph him on my brain. I should say its height when standing erect would be between 5 foot 8 inches to 5 foot 10 inches. Its body, legs and arms were covered with long, brown, reddish hair, which shook with every quivering moment of its body. The hair on its shoulders and back parts appeared in the subdued light of the fire to be jet black and long. But what struck me most extraordinary was the apparently human shape, but still so very different. I will commence its detailed description with the feet, which only occasionally could I get a glimpse of. I saw that the metatarsal bones were very short, much shorter than in genus Homo, but the phalanges were extremely long, indicating great grasping power by the feet. The fibula bone on the leg was much shorter than a man. The femur bone on the thigh was very long, out of all proportion to the rest of the leg. The body frame was enormous, indicating immense strength and power of endurance. The arms and forepaws were extremely long and large, and very muscular, being covered with short hair. The head and face were very small, but very human. The eyes were large, dark, and piercing, deeply set. A most horrible mouth was ornamented with 2 large and long canine teeth. When the jaws were closed, they protruded over the lower lip. The stomach seemed like a sack hanging halfway down the thighs, whether natural or a prolapsus, I could not tell. All this observation only occupied a few minutes, while the creature stood erect, as if the firelight had paralysed him. After a few more growls and thumping its breast, he made off, the first few yards erect, then at a faster gait on all fours through the scrub. Nothing would induce my companions to continue the trip, at which I was rather pleased than otherwise, and returned as quickly as possible out of reach of the Australian gorillas, rare as they are. The end. Well, that was a really, really interesting story, I thought. I really liked the description that he gave. That was very detailed, especially for like back in 1912. A couple of things I really thought were funny was like, he touched on the first bombaling sighting that I did, where I talked about the one where the guy took the prints into the university, and the university scientists have said it's a fake, but he's not saying the stock inspector faked it, but the animal did. Like, how does that happen? And then I also like how he wouldn't go out and put the kindling on the fire to get it to breathe up. He sent his mate out, and his mate ended up fainting. I thought that was pretty funny. And then also I've included a picture of an artist's impression from the description that Mr. Harper gave of the Yowie that they saw, and I just think it's very comical. And I think that guy should never get a job as a police sketch artist looking for criminals. Okay, so that's it from me. I'll get back to you all next time. Bye.